Sal Paolantonio. We usually do a Sal Pal Friday, but season's over. Reaction is hot and heavy. Text board blowing up. Phone lines going crazy. But ESPN Sal Paolantonio, he joins me now on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline as we take a look at what's next for the Philadelphia Eagles. And kind of a surprise today, Sal. First off, Happy New Year, my friend.
Happy New Year. You know I'm a friend in the Mike Gill show. So when you text or email, I'm ready to roll with you, Mike Gill.
We are ready to go. And, boy, this team hasn't given us a whole heck of a lot to discuss now, did they? Jeez. Let's start with, God, where do you even start? Let's start with the fact that everybody, Pederson, Roseman, all before the game reports where they are coming back. Do we feel strong with that? Because then we see they're both speaking today, and that was like, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think they're both coming back. I think the big news from today, excuse me, I got a little thing in my throat this morning. It was a long day at Lincoln Financial Field, Mike. I think the big headline from today is that Howie Roseman did not rule out trading Carson Wentz.
Right. Yeah, I know Roseman was asked about the speculation on Wentz and, all this stuff.
Mike, if he's asked the question, right?
Yep.
Are you talking about it? You have to absolutely say, Mike, you must say, he's our franchise quarterback. We're not trading him. That's what you got to say.
Yeah.
He didn't even say that.
No, you're right. He was very evasive about everything. Now, I wanted to get your take on the Eagles answered it in that aspect. Wentz just moments ago said, I'm not talking to the media. What do you read into that?
Right, because the first question to Carson Wentz would have to be, what about Chris Mortensen's report that you have a fractured relationship with Doug Pederson?
Right. And by the way, Mort followed that up today by saying Wentz wants out, and it's not coming from the agent.
Yeah, because that's what Chris Collinsworth and Al Michaels alluded to during the broadcast, that they talked to the Eagles front office, and they said it was just a bunch of agent talk.
Yeah.
So, it was a little bit of professional jealousy, I thought, on the part of the NBC crew that they didn't break the biggest story of the day, which was Chris Mortensen. As we know, Chris Mortensen is ironclad all the time.
You know Pederson really well.
Yep.
He keeps saying, we have a good relationship. He said it's a very professional relationship. He did say that last night. I thought that a professional relationship sounds like, we make it work. But what kind of relationship does Doug Pederson have with Carson Wentz?
Yeah, I don't want to read too much into it. I'll just say this. It's obvious that there's been tension there. Everybody can see it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't bench Carson Wentz and then have tension.
Right.
You just don't.
But Doug has said, look, he's upset. He obviously is not happy with the way the season's gone. I mean, that's understandable.
Fractured is a word that you could use when describing that, I think. And the question is, the thing is, now that this stuff is out, and it's real, okay, how difficult does that make it to trade Carson Wentz? Like, you pick up the phone, you call Chris Ballard, for instance,
right,
of the Colts. He's the GM of the Colts. And we all know that Phillip Rivers may or may not retire, but it's definitely a discussion. And so Frank Reich thinks, all right, well, I got to have a veteran quarterback in here. I got a team that went to the playoffs. I replaced Andrew Luck with Phillip Rivers. We're back in the postseason. They are back in the postseason, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The Colts are playing Buffalo.
I lost track because I was so involved in the Eagles story yesterday.
Yeah. Understandable.
Yeah. So they're back in the playoffs with Phillip Rivers. They're a dangerous team because their offensive line is so good. They can run the ball. Their defense is very well coached. So you're saying to yourself, all right, I got Phillip Rivers. He retires. Do I want to start all over with a rookie quarterback? Definitely not is the answer to that question. Would I rather trade for Carson Wentz? Absolutely, because I have a history of him with him. I know what he's all about. But injury history, major contract. Now it's clear that the Eagles and Carson Wentz are not on the same page, let's use that term instead of fractured, just to, massage it a little bit, right, Mike?
Yep.
So, not on the same page. Chris Ballard picks up the phone from Howie Roseman and says, listen, if everything was perfect, I might give you a second-round pick for Carson Wentz if he didn't have an injury history. I might give you a second-round pick if he didn't have a giant contract that I got to swallow. I might give you a second-round pick if I didn't know that you were having problems with this player. I might.
Right.
But right now, all I'm giving you is a fourth and maybe a 2 in 2022. Maybe if Carson Wentz finishes the year, all 16 games, and we go to the playoffs, it goes to a second-round pick.
Right. See, that is where it gets a little wonky. Now, Andrew Brandt, who's going to be on a little bit later, he suggested a post-June – he had Joe Banner on the podcast and suggested a post-June 1 trade as the best scenario. The one problem with that was the team that gets Wentz is getting him after June 1st, which means it's hard to install stuff. But that would make the Colts make the most sense.
Found out with Cam Newton.
Correct. But wouldn't that make then the Colts make the most sense because Reich at least has a history with him and that's the best of both worlds is the Eagles can spread out the consequences over 2 seasons and then the Colts get a guy who knows their offense.
Well, I respect Andrew Brandt, and Joe Banner knows the inner workings of the NFL pretty good. That's bunk. There's no way. It's bunk. There's no way, and there's no way that if I'm the Colts, I'm waiting until after June 1st to find out if I got Carson Wentz or not. Because, even if you wait after June, all right, let's say you have a deal in place.
Yeah.
And you wait, okay, you have a deal in place, which is illegal, by the way. Can't have a deal in place.
Which Banner suggested, a little wink behind the scenes. You'll have them after June 1st, send them your playbook.
Yeah, can't do that. Illegal. Find out about that, you lose draft picks.
Right.
Owner gets fined. Both owners get fined. So wink, wink, this, that, and the other thing ain't happening. You're not gonna jeopardize draft picks and money for a situation like that. So forget it. It's not going to happen after June 1st for precisely the reason you just explained. You can't wait until the first month of the summer to find out who your quarterback is, unless you're J.C. Treader and the head of the union, and you think that the offseason is a complete waste of time and we're not doing it anymore.
Yeah. So living with 2 quarterbacks, is that the scenario that the Eagles are prepared? Now they have the 6th pick in the draft. I guess you could throw drafting a quarterback into the mix too.
Hey, I think he's going to get traded before June 1st. I think they're going to try to trade him. And let me remind some people, I went through the Terrell Owens situation. And if you remember, Terrell Owens reached the end of the rope with the Eagles organization because he wouldn't do certain things required of the PR department. Up at training camp, he wouldn't sign autographs. He wouldn't do meet and greet with fans. He had a bad relationship with Brad Childress. It became, quote unquote, fractured. And then all of a sudden, a few weeks later, he's suspended by Andy Reid.
Yeah.
So tell me how this is different from T.O.
Well, I mean, I don't know
if the guy doesn't want to meet with the media, which is an obligation,
right,
and has a fractured relationship with a coach.
You got to see. Well, yeah, the Eagles. Now, this is Rose.
Michael, I'm making you think. I just. You're at a loss for words.
I know
Michael.
you turned me into a different direction that I was kind of like, well, wait a second now. Because I don't look at Wentz as a malcontent like I did Owens. That's the difference, I think.
Okay, now, yeah, all right, but let me ask you that. Why not?
Right, well, that's what made me pause because I'm thinking, I don't think this guy, but is he? Is he a difficult malcontent?
Wait a second. Now, if you're the Eagles and you say, hey, this guy's not doing his obligations. Hey, he doesn't get along with the coaches.
Yeah.
Oh. Now we can look at the contract differently. You got to perform certain duties as a player in the organization.
Right. So that contract, many people just say it's unmovable. You can't cut him. You can't release him. You can't trade him because the team that you're trading him to, they get the contract, which is a serviceable payment for a quarterback in this league. The penalties all fall in the Eagles' lap. So with him or without him, they're getting hammered with dead money and cap problems. So
if I were Carson Wentz, I'd be very, very careful. This is a team who's had a history with a malcontent player and suspended him.
Yeah. So now your colleague Chris Mortensen said, I could tell you Carson Wentz wants out. Unless we hear Carson Wentz stand up and say that story's not true, then I'm going to believe my sources, which are many. And Wentz had his chance today and decided not to. So the answer to me sounds like Wentz wants out. So does that put the Eagles in a tough spot by Wentz essentially putting them on notice? I want out.
Right. So if he didn't want out, all he had to do is get in front of the media
Correct.
and say, this guy's nuts.
Yep.
I want to stay here. I have a contract. I love Philadelphia.
Right.
I'm involved in the community and philanthropy. I love my teammates. I love wearing the Eagles uniform. I want to stay here. Chris Mortensen's full of it.
Yeah. Yep. I agree with that.
He could have easily said that, and he didn't do it.
I agree with that.
And Howie Roseman could have easily said, when Jeff McClain asked the follow-up question, today. You know, you didn't rule out trading Carson Wentz. And Howie Roseman did a humana.
Yes, he says, you have not ruled out Carson Wentz. Is that what you said? Roseman said, that is not anything we are talking about right now. We are talking about a guy.
Right now are the key words.
Yep. So that's the biggest story of the offseason, obviously, is Wentz. The next question would be, do they have enough intel on Hurts?
I don't think they do, Mike.
You were through the Bobby Hoying stuff, right?
He didn't play so great yesterday, and if you remember last week when I talked to you, actually it was 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, yep.
Yep, when I talked to you, I said, Jalen Hurts is not a drop-back quarterback in this system. He's a 6'1" running quarterback. He's a quarterback who needs to play zone read offense. It's very tough to do that when you have so many injuries on the offensive line. I think eventually they'll have to figure that out. He doesn't have Lamar Jackson's speed, but he certainly has enough strength and touch on the ball. But what was amazing to me was Chris Collinsworth yesterday in the broadcast saying, well, you know, Jalen Hurts looks like he's on the money all the time. The guy had 5 completions when he said that.
Yeah, he went, 7 of 20. The completion percentage, not good last night, and not good overall, 52%. We're knocking Wentz for 57%. Hurts is at 52%. What he brings you with his feet is a different story. So I don't know how the Eagles go into this offseason having enough intel on saying we're ready to move on from one guy when we don't know enough about another. But they put themselves into this spot.
The bottom line is you gotta follow the money and follow what people say and do. So one, Carson Wentz had an opportunity to address the media, and not only the media, forget the media, the fans.
Yeah.
The fans are the most important thing. He had an opportunity to address the fans today and say, listen, I don't know where these reporters are getting this stuff from. I want to be in an Eagles uniform in 2021. I want to lead this franchise to a Super Bowl. He didn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
That was not the right thing to do for him and his organization. Because even if you don't believe it, you got to say it, Mike. You got to say it.
Totally agree.
And secondly, when Howie Roseman was asked that follow-up question by Jeff McClain of the Inquirer, he had to say, trading him? I ain't trading that guy. I just paid him $130 billion 18 months ago. What are you, nuts?
Well, it's going to be a fun offseason. You were there last night. I mean, what was the feeling in that place with the way that game went?
It's hard to say because there are no fans. But, you know, on social media, the Eagles were getting roasted. They certainly were, and justifiably so. If you wanted to get Nate Sudfeld snaps, start him.
Have you ever heard that, though, before in your NFL career, that a coach said, the guy deserves snaps?
Well, I mean, that's fine. If that's his decision, but just start him.
Yeah.
Let him play the whole game. Come right out and say it.
Yep.
Hey, Jalen Hurts is my future. Carson Wentz is my future. I'm going to give Nate Sudfeld an opportunity to show the NFL what he can do. This is his last year under his deal. We got to make a decision about Nate Sudfeld. I want to see him play 60 minutes.
Yeah.
Hello. Beautiful. Fantastic. You know, in this day and age, Michael, we're all looking for some truth, authenticity, sincerity. That's what people are looking for. If you tell them the truth, people are cool with it. They may not agree with it, but they're cool with it.
Sal Paolantonio here. The Eagles, obviously, huge. They're at number 6. I know we're way off on this, but just initial thought is, do they have to think about a wide receiver again?
No, I think they have to think about trading the pick for a lot of picks.
Okay. That's definitely
it's trading the 6th pick for a lot of picks is much easier than trading the 9 pick, because you're getting literally, you know, a much, much better player at 6 than 9. Yeah, and, you know, the history of the league is if you trade a 6th pick, you can get a lot of picks for it. Yeah. And, you know, somebody who's looking for a quarterback or a top offensive player. And, you know, you started that question with, we're way, way off. And I don't know who's out there, who's, right. You know, we are way, way off.
We are. The draft is sadly it's in April, so it's a little ways off, but it gets here fast. And this team has so many holes. And I guess the one thing is, look, if you're in that front office and you're saying we get Lane Johnson back, we got Brandon Brooks back, we're getting Dillard. I don't know what to think about that pick, but I mean, maybe they feel that this season's a byproduct of that happening.
First, here's the 2 things that we're going to do before the draft starts. You ready? 1, we're going to recall all of the scouts from the West Coast. I don't want any more Pac-12 players.
Right.
Done.
Second, I did get your email with Justin Jefferson's picture.
We're going to call Johnny G of Berger Realty, and we're going to say, Johnny, Sal Pal needs to come back on the Mike Gill Show in the spring of 2021. So please support Sal Pal on the Mike Gill Show.
Yeah, we look forward to that. We look forward to the draft and the offseason.
Those are the 2 things that got to happen, Mike Gill. That's it.
It's going to be wild. All right. They never a dull moment. The Eagles end their season 4-11-1. Nobody saw it going that way, but here we are.
Well, yeah. And guess what? They got 4 wins, and 3 of them are against backup quarterbacks. And in the 4th one, Daniel Jones fell down, and the Giants tight end dropped a pass that would have iced the game. Those are the 4 wins.
And Wentz played good for 1 quarter all year, and it led to a tie. And if you don't tie that game with the Bengals, you would get the 5th pick. You would even feel better today. All right, Sal Pal, ESPN. I know you're busy. I appreciate you rearranging your schedule and jumping on.
You got it. Anytime, Mike.